Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ryan Camp. I'm the Manager of Customer Experience here. I am excited to take you through Grovo. Everyone else here makes up our Grovo Customer Experience team. We have Haley Handler, who's our Customer Experience Associate. You'll see a lot of emails from her as we go about. If anything ever breaks, you'll talk to Andis. He's our Support Manager. Liz Hahn, who's here to help us, especially in the early going in terms of adoption and getting you up on the platform. You've probably come across one of us before. If not, I'm sure you will pretty soon. This is what Grovo looks like at Grovo. So you'll notice right up front, an important thing to highlight, and this is actually something we're noticing and is a change. So we at one point had everyone log into Grovo.com. You've been to our public website, Grovo.com, everybody logs in, and then through that login, you're taken to where you need to go. That's no longer the case. I think it's a benefit, but I think it can be confusing for your learners too, something we want to think about way up front. We actually have a subdomain that's specific to each company. So for us, it's grovo.grovo.com. For you, you've already defined this. You've probably set it as your email domain for simplicity, or maybe you've set it to the name of a learning initiative, what have you. Let's make sure that we have that at the top of mind, though, because it's important for your learners to know where to go. Often, and I think just naturally, they hear we bought this thing Grovo and they go to grovo.com like everybody would expect. And there's a little bit of another step for them. So I just want to highlight that. It's great from a branding perspective. It's really nice that we get your name out there right in the link and basically in the title of the website. But it's also important that we know how to get people to the right place at the right time, because that's why we bought this thing in the first place. Excellent. You've seen a lot about the Learner Home. I'm just going to highlight a few things. One, I actually set this for the company to be a GIF up here in the featured lesson. I think it looks super cool. I also love the little brain burst as we see the brain diagram kind of diffuse. We support rich media across the platform. So you'll see when we jump into the Create tool, there's actually an integration with Giphy. I think that's really cool and very easy to get animated GIFs out there. But also I think it's just a cool dynamic look at what learning can do. A nice feature of Grovo here, I actually haven't pulled this wide enough so that it looks good. There we go. You can set these featured lessons. That actually happens over here in the admin section, admin and content manager. Through this, you can decide what shows up here, either your own created lessons or our content. And you can also decide which tracks are visible to your learners really to begin with. So that's pretty cool. Away from Learner Home, I'm just going to go to Library again. This is the learner experience. They'll only see these two pieces of functionality on the platform, their Learner Home and then Library. But this is where you can go browse for content, lessons and tracks, the ability to tag your own content and our content too. You can see we've played around with tracks a little bit of testing in here. Just speaks to the fact that you can create these on your own. You can curate both our content and yours, make a really nice browsable experience for your learners. If someone finds a track that contains lessons that are not available to them, they'll be grayed out. And instead of hiding them all together, the reason we do this is that it might be something that they either would like to request or they would like to see what someone in a position above them would get, for instance, as one use case. Those will show up under the track section here, just like all other tracks once they're published. So once they're saved, only people with the create responsibility under roles here will be able to see that. But once you've created tracks of your own, they'll show up here just like ours. I'm going to start with the user aspect of this. I was a classroom teacher at one point, and the old saw in teaching is nobody's teaching if nobody's learning. So let's talk about how we get people into the platform. What's also great about this, and I'll touch on this at the end, it's a little bit more of a, I guess, kind of an advanced section of this. It's how to do triggered campaigns. That all starts with creating users, assigning them attributes, and eventually creating smart groups that are defined by those attributes that then give you training. So again, the idea is that you load people into the platform because we understand what people in certain groups need. Everything flows from there. Their attributes populate them into groups. Their groups give them training automatically. It's really quite cool. But again, it starts with making sure that we have everybody defined in the platform. These are actually us here at Grovo. If I click into anybody, I'll find myself for privacy's sake, I suppose. When you see this, these are all of the attributes that we can talk about. So we need these four. At Grovo, our employee ID is just our email alias. This is the essential information to get anybody in the platform. First name, last name, email address, employee ID. Employee ID is particularly important. It's the unique identifier of people in Grovo. If you are going to do the reports to function, for instance, that also references the manager's employee ID. So we can create groups around who reports to who as tracked in your HRIS. Very, very cool. We have the additional attributes here. We've created some of our own. You can do the same. We've populated this with attributes that we think are most common through our work here, but you can also see I work in New York. I'm on the client success team. I am the manager of customer experience. I report to Catherine Rotano. Again, that's her employee ID. All of this works. So these are all the things that make me, me at Grovo. And through this, I am a member of the customer success team by virtue of the division I work in. You see the department here. That creates a group. It creates a group because I report to Kate. It creates a group based on how long I've been here on my hire date. And all of those things can inform the training I get. We can do this one by one, as you see in this view here. We can also add and edit users through this section, which allows us to then jump into a CSV upload. I mentioned that you can create your own attributes. What's nice about this is that if you select this template, the template is already updated with all of the attributes you've created as you create custom attributes. Pretty neat. It's a nice little touch that allows you to make sure that you don't have to continue to update your CSV every time you make a change in the app. If we don't want to do constant CSV updates, or if you're a large organization or you have very many changes, you can connect to our API or use our API to connect to your HRIS. That's done through here. We have an out-of-the-box integration with Namely. If you're a Namely customer, it's quite a quick setup. Not so difficult if you are not a Namely customer. It's just more of an open bridge that you can connect to any side. This is also where you configure single sign-on. We've made it very easy to configure. You also do that on your own. It doesn't really involve our engineering talent at all, which is nice. But that, again, makes for a seamless learner experience. It allows you to send out links to people and get them into the platform much more directly. It's really just a better experience. We all know the more friction there is getting into a product, the less likely we are to use it. Same goes for your learners, and the same goes for the ability to make sure that we're engaging with the product on an ongoing basis. I'm going to show you groups. This is mostly just to illustrate what you can do with this, which I think is excellent. We've made groups by division here. We've just started reworking this with the release of triggered assignments to really get smart with how we deliver content. So upcoming in the next couple of weeks, something I'm working on internally is making sure everyone has their reports to fields populated. We're creating groups based on the frontline managers here and eventually the directors and VPs. All of that will then allow for us to create intelligent, smart content, deliver it to people when they move around the organization, which I think is really cool. Another one, which I think is really nice, and especially as someone who's onboarded people recently, having a New York group and a San Francisco group for our two different office locations here is really nice, especially if someone gets added to one of those groups for the first time. Even if they're just visiting the office, we can send them something about the New York office. We have bagels and lox delivered on Friday mornings. We have a gym on site, so make sure you bring sneakers. Our address is 50 West 23rd Street, and we're on the 6th floor. All those things you can just send to somebody when you add them to the New York group. I want to show you how to create lessons. That's the basis of all of the training on here. Even if you're going to use our lessons as a backbone, you can duplicate them and make them a little bit more proprietary by adding your own information or your own spin on it or changing the terminology. So I think that's really cool. But additionally, this is, again, the backbone of this platform, right? You've purchased it for either your own content and training or our content or some combination of them. And that's the most logical place to start after we get people in here. I am going to show you something we do for every new hire in their first week. They learn how to use Grovo by telling us a little bit about themselves, but it gives you an idea of what you can do in the Create tool. She started in New York. She went to IU. We actually both did, which I thought was really cool. Her car went on fire one time. But if I jump out of the preview and into the Create tool, you can actually see what this looks like as you go through. And again, gifts all around. So a great fun way that we kind of open up the Create tool to everybody here, but it's also at heart a very easy way to get information out to your teammates at the same time. An important feature to show you is how you take our content and adapt it for yourselves. One of the newest tracks we've updated is dealing with pressure as a new manager. It's been a large focus for us for the last 2 quarters is skilling up new managers. If I wanted to take this content and make it a little bit more proprietary, we'll just call this Stay Calm Under Pressure as a Manager at Grovo. Once I save this, it'll show up under my Built by Me section, and now we can jump in and edit it. So now everything that's in here, save for the actual content of the videos in this lesson, is available for me to edit. I can also go grab videos from other lessons. If I like those and feel like they're a fit here, I can combine these in different ways. You can actually just hit Control or Command C and copy different cards and bring them into different lessons. So all of that's available. The Giphy integration makes it easy to make this fun and light, to bring in rich media. We can add whatever sort of card we're looking for here, video and image, upload documents, add a quiz question. It's all very easy. It auto saves. It gives us the ability to make this not just a lesson about staying under pressure as a manager, not just a lesson about best practices or the fundamentals of the particular topic, but how someone at your particular company uses that information to make them better in their particular role. I think it's the real power of the platform, and this is definitely where I would recommend starting. I'm going to jump out of the Create tool. Let's just show you campaigns with a particular emphasis on how to do triggered campaigns, and then we will show you what this looks like moving forward. So I think one of the really great options here, we actually just released content on building smart teams. You can see here, these are all of my colleagues. We're diligently building content for all of us and their teams to benefit from. I think this is really cool. It's a great new track. We can actually see what's in the campaign content here. This all comes from our library. If I wanted to assign this out, actually there's two things I can show you here. If you wanted to send out this link and allow people to opt into this training instead of assigning it to them, we actually just released that feature here. It allows you to get a link that's unique to that user, or I guess really the intersection of that user and the assignment. We call it self-enroll links. It's a great way to remind people to go out there. It's a great way to send one link to everybody and have them get into their own unique experience with training. And the other thing we want to mention is adding triggers to these trainings. Again, this is what delivers training automatically. This is your classic set it and forget it technology. You get your users into groups, they automatically get training. I could imagine that someone who just became a manager might want to know more about building smart teams. If I had this group called Grovo Managers, if someone moved into Grovo Managers by virtue of their job title changing to manager, they're now in this group. This trigger alone means that the next time they logged in, they'd have this training on their homepage. Very, very cool. That way it's geared towards new managers. I also could send this to all of our existing managers just by selecting that checkbox. And now everybody gets the ability to view this content in the moment that they need it. As soon as they become a new manager and they have an appetite for new managerial content, we're ready to deliver it to them. The other option here, which may not work for a manager training, maybe it does, is to send this to new hires. In this case, or in, I guess, sort of the back end of Grovo, the first time someone's added to the platform. This is probably more where I would add general company information, a welcome from your CEO or from their manager, information about the office as we talked about before, general guidelines for how to be successful at the company. This could be your company norms, your communication policy, maybe it's your email policy or who to go to for technical help, how to get around the office, all of those things. Whatever you want someone to see as soon as they log into Grovo, this is where you can do that. Again, managed seamlessly just by selecting triggers here and adding people to the platform, they automatically get training, which I think is a really great feature. So I'm going to jump back into campaigns where you can set the duration. And what we're talking about here is that when you go to assign out a training, it asks you to set a duration for it rather than saying it should be due at this particular time. We can set the due date here. We can't do it on an ongoing basis. So when you write up the campaign, I'll jump back one screen. Sorry for going a little nuts here. But if I click into edit this campaign, it says, how long should this campaign take? And Grovo gives you a recommendation. Based on what you put in here, we think it should take 16 days. You can change that as you see fit. If you assign this out as a one-time assignment, you can choose an end date for it, which is great. The reason why we focus on duration first is that because we knew we were building triggered campaigns, now that it's a triggered campaign, you're not necessarily going to want to update the endpoint every time, right? That kind of defeats the purpose of it being an automatic delivery. By setting a suggested duration for this, whether you have a due date or not, it allows you then to constantly have this update based on when people are added. Somebody's added to the platform at some distant point in the future, they'll still have 16 days to complete this. Same thing if you were to do it, a new to group trigger. Let me just show you the reporting page. This gives you a high level look of what's going on the platform. Percentage of engaged users based on whatever time frame you're looking at. This is the last month for us. But here's the total views. Assignments outstanding, I think, is great because it gives you not just the number of assignments, but also where are people at with them? Are people actually finishing them? I promise you, we actually do watch our training here. We just test so often that I probably have 15 overdue assignments trying to make sure that everything's working. But I love this map too. When people complete them, they're completing them right before the due date. Due dates for action. One of the new things too is that we serve up to you the content that people are viewing. Nick just started this week, not surprisingly. Nick's got a bunch of views. We also show you the tags that people are browsing for. This way, when somebody asks you, hey, how's that Grovo thing going that I heard about? Or, hey, I remember we made that purchase about a year ago. How are things going? Now you can tell them. Feel free to check out our knowledge base, support.grovo.com. We'll have a ton of resources up there for you. You can always find us there. Reach out to us at support.com or through your CSM or any of your customer experience contacts. And we look forward to seeing you put this into action.